Hey everybody, how's it going? Well, today we're going to work with clay. And the type of clay we're using is an air-dried clay body, which means that it's a no-bake. Normally, clay is dug out of the earth and processed a bit. And what we use here is a stoneware clay that can be manipulated and pushed and pulled into a shape or form just like the air-dried clay. But the difference being that this type of clay needs to be fired. It needs to go through many stages before it ends up a beautiful fired piece of pottery. This is a hand building method. Pinch pots were done, there's evidence of them tens of thousands of years ago. And before the pottery wheel was invented, people had to make their vessels by hand building. There was slab, coil, and pinch pot. And we're going to do a pinch pot today and a little bit of slab. Now, when this clay dries, it is like this, all crumbly. And you can't really do anything with it. It's fragile, it'll break. You could paint it, but it won't last, okay? What we do with this is, once it's dry, we put it in the kiln and we go through a bisque fire. So now this clay, from here, it gets dried out after it was manipulated into some sort of shape or form. We put it in the kiln from wet clay to greenware. This is called bisqueware, and this is the glaze. So the glaze is put on bisqueware because the bisqueware is now very porous and soaks up the glaze. It is halfway to stone. It went through a molecular change and it can no longer go back to mud. When I put this in water, it'll turn back to clay mud. This went through and is now half stone. Once it's glazed, we fire it again to a full finish. And this is made by a student here in one of our pottery classes, that this glaze is here. And this is what it looks like finished, the raw clay finished. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a little back on that. There's a lot of value in working with your hands. Hopefully you've been experiencing some of the benefits of putting down your phone or your computer, laptop, whatever, and working with your hands directly, thinking about your creative process, and just having some nice reflection time that is important. So air-dry clay is exactly what it sounds like. It dries, so there's no bake. So I made this earlier, and this is still wet. And this is, I'm going to show you how to make a 2-piece pinch pot vase. And then I also had some fun rolling out some slab, and I did, guess what, embossing with some seashells, and you can make these charms, wind charms or chimes, might call them chimes, charms. So I'm going to show you. Now when we work with this kind of stoneware clay, we have to be very careful, and it has to be wedged and prepared in a very technical and unique way. Otherwise you could have air bubbles in your pot. And if there's an air bubble in your pot and you put it in the kiln, the air bubble expands as it gets heated up and it'll explode and your pot is ruined. So here we don't have to be so concerned about wedging or worrying about it. So to make this project, you're going to want 2 balls. They could be equal, they could be a little off, you know, since this is going to be a vase. I think I made this one with the exact same size. So I'll try this one. And again, take your time with this. It doesn't It doesn't have, I took my time with this, but I still felt a little rushed. But this should take you almost an hour, hour and a half to do if you do it correctly and take your time. So to make a pinch pot, you hold it in the base of your palm, and with your thumb, you just press down, like that. And then, like the pottery wheel, you rotate and you press. And you go around. I'm gonna stand up, okay? Try not to jiggle the table. And you go around in equal pressure, and you're creating and rising the walls of the pot. What you want is everything to be equal. You don't want one side rising up higher than the other. If that's happening, that means you're pressing harder in one spot than the other. So you keep this going. I can work better sometimes standing up. You'll see cracks forming. It's okay, you have a little water here, and you can just put a little water. Also have a sponge somewhere, and you can just sort of come and fix these cracks. You can use a little water if you want to make it. So then you can put this down, and you can kind of come like this. I dig in and I pull up. And I'm lengthening the wall, the height of the wall. I also want to be careful that everything is somewhat even on my rim. And I'm trying to maintain a nice even thickness all the way around. I don't have thick, thin pieces. If you do that, you're probably going too fast. And breathe while you do this. It's nice. Just take your time and sort of massage the clay. Same kind of pressure, even pressure. Don't worry about the cracks right now, we'll fix them. I'm gonna flip it over, and I wanted a foot on the back of mine, on the base of mine. Foot is nice because it emphasizes the overall shape of the pot, and it kind of puts it on a pedestal. It keeps it off the kind of keeps it off the floor. It casts shadows. It's really cool. So to do that, what I did was, here's the base. You can see there's a lot of clay between here and inside. So I just kind of pinch this way, and I get a base going. I get a foot going. I have my fingerprints here. That can either stay or you can take them out. So again, this takes some time. I'm gonna go through a little quicker than you should, because I want this to use a little water, get the cracks. And I'm just gonna shape this up a little bit more. I'm gonna really spin it, and then even pressure on both sides and thin the walls. Okay. Got a nice everything's still nice and even there. I don't know if I'm shaking the table, I hope not. Okay, my foot, I'm watching the foot. They lend themselves to being more asymmetrical, but I've seen some pinch pots that look like they were thrown on the wheel, and it's because the creator just took their time, went slow, were very methodical, and didn't stop until they were satisfied. Pottery has, it's like a body. It has a foot, this is the foot. It has a waist or a hip. It has shoulders, it has a neck, and it has a mouth. So those are all parts of the pot that you, just like our bodies, are proportionate and thought about as you're deciding your finishing touches, how you want it to look, okay? One is not better than the other, and the important thing is that you're just taking your time in a caring kind of way to finish your piece. So that's the first half. I'm gonna do a second half to make it. So this time I'm going a little quicker because this is a demo. And here I was very careful of the thickness of the bottom. It feels a little thin, so I'm gonna fix that. Here I want the top to be a little more narrow. So I'm going to push this out. Again, watching thickness. See how I'm not being really careful not to do uneven pressure. If I need a little water, I'll put it in there to get some of the cracks. I'm not going to worry about the cracks right now. Your handling of the clay draws moisture out of the clay, and that's why it cracks. So now I'm going to think about joining these two pieces together. So I have some choices to make. Okay, so I'm making them in my head right now. Like, how's the overall proportion from the top to the bottom going to be? There's a lot of manipulating I can still do, so I kind of like that this is going to taper like that, so I'm going to go with it. So I'm just going to bring this in a little bit more. And then, this is the important part. When you join clay together, you have to score. And what I'm doing, I'm really chewing up the clay. I'm not being nice about it. A little bit of water. And then, same thing here. I'm going to score it up here. And the water makes this liquid glue. It's called slip. I'm going to put that on. But before I put it on, I want to poke through. I'm going to make the neck, much like I did the foot of the clay. This time I'm making the foot be the top. And I'm going to poke through it. There. I'm going to put it on. Now this is where a lot of the time comes in, because I don't want it to look like that. I like it more like this. So it just takes some time. I'm going to come with my fork or my popsicle stick. I'm going to open that up, put my finger in there, and then I'm going to close this seam. And I'm making sure my finger is wherever I'm pressing on the outside, that I have something behind it. My finger on the inside behind where I'm pressing on the outside. Don't worry, I always tell everybody, it's just clay. It's just clay. Okay. Okay. And now I can start working and melding and bringing these together. Again, this is about, I would say, a 45-minute project that I'm showing you in about, 5-7 minutes. And so keep on manipulating, thinking about the neck, the mouth, keeping things even and symmetrical as best you can. You can use your popsicle stick and some water. That really kind of brings it together nice. You have to keep on going back and checking things. How the foot is, how that is. You can set this down for a second. I got a little wet. And I can start just shaping it. So you keep on working it. Did I shake the camera? Just keep on, sorry, I keep on shaking the camera. Keep on working it. It takes time, okay? This is about halfway through. I want to spend some more time on this. So I'm just going to stop for a second and show you a couple other things, okay? If you want to make a coil, you can just do it like this on your hands, or you can kind of, you always want to have paper. Don't just do it on a hard surface. You always want a piece of paper, it works. If I wanted to add a coil like this, I could come and add some texture in my popsicle stick. And let's say, okay, I'm happy with this. I'm not super happy with this, but let's just take it from there, okay? I think it needs, you can probably see where it needs more work, but I just want to show you. Let's say I'm going to add this belt around the waist, kind of where the joining was, because unlike my first piece, I think I did a better job joining. And again, you have to score, or it won't stick. It'll fall off once it dries. So then, ta-da. So got something like that going. I'm just gonna press it down and use a little more water in there, get some slip in there. So now, just that one element sort of shaped it up. I'm gonna go back. I'd be constantly here for another hour or so working this. Okay, because you can see my foot isn't where I want it to be. It's kind of got a big beer belly right there, which is kind of fun, you know, it's okay. So that's coming along. So that's a coil, using a coil. You can also just use your popsicle stick and sort of make a slab. A rolling pin, if you have a rolling pins work. You can use like this. In fact, I use this too if you have an empty bottle at your house. And this has some sort of like texture, so it's embossing on the clay. And then what I did was I used it like a cookie cutter, and I spit out some fun little things like this. Okay, and then I had some cool shells, and I pressed down in the shell and I did some embossing. And that's what I did with all of these. So my idea was I would take the skewer that you're gonna get with your tools. You'll get a skewer and make a little hole. That's a big hole. A pencil works great too. If you don't have like and poke little holes, because I might want to make a wind chime or something. You can even hang these off your popsicle stick. And what I did on this one is I took one of my medallions. You can always just sort of roll this back up. That's the fun part of this clay. And if you don't have a lot of fancy tools, that's okay. This popsicle stick works great. And I could add this button on here by scoring. Adding some water. Score both sides. Put this little button on. So I know you can do a lot better than what I just did, because you'll have more time, and you can look up pinch pots and study about them, the different cultures that use them, and some were ceremonial, some were utilitarian. It's really fun. And you can make lots of different textures and create patterns. There's all sorts of things I know you can come up with. Okay, so this is what it looks like dry. So once it's dry, it gets hard. And unlike this, where, watch, I'll put this in some water and it'll start disintegrating. And you can see it bubbling in there. See? Art and science. These are hard. They won't turn back. Okay? I hope. Let's do an experiment. Okay. You can make beads too. You can wrap, one way is to wrap it around pencil. You can make beads. Again, very rudimentary, but here's some beads. And then you can paint them. Once this is finished, you can paint these. I recommend painting them. You can use anything. You can use ink, magic marker, acrylic. Mod Podge, after you paint, they might get dull. So if you have some like Mod Podge or something, it'll look really, really nice too. So you're gonna have your directions. It has some history of pinch pots and clay, the value of pinch pots. There's always some questions in there that I ask you to think about and reflect upon. These are all, hopefully you're sharing these ideas with your friends and family, and we have lots more coming, so enjoy the clay. Don't forget to wash your hands before and after, and keep your distance. All right, see you soon.